All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session. Today, we have building securely on BNB Chain, practical lessons from Hashdit and Lista. I'm Ali Reza from Cantina Spearbit. Here, I'm the head of security research. Just a quick intro about Cantina and what we do. We do all things end-to-end security. We do bug bounties and audits, of course. And we also have like MDR and post-deployment support for the protocols that build. And today, we have Hashdit and Lista with us. Just a quick intro about what we're going to talk about today. Today, we've got like a mix of builders in the room, builders, security researchers, and ecosystem teams in the room. So the goal today is practical clarity and to see what's actually working on BNB chain, what assumptions teams should revisit, and how to ship safer code in like a high throughput and a low fee environment. Cantina overall focuses on helping teams and protocols in security readiness. Here we have also Lista, which is one of the core DeFi and liquid staking projects in the ecosystem. They operate at a real scale. And also they've had to design around BNB high throughput environments, so they know a lot about it. And they know about its liquidity behavior and Oracle constraints in like a very hands-on way. And we also have Hashdit, a leading security firm on BNB chain. They've handled audits, chain monitoring, real incident response for many major protocols. So you name it, they've done it. So they bring a clear understanding of the attack patterns and the overall practical defenses that actually work here. So first of all, I'm going to start with a question from Lista. Um, when you think about security on BNB chain today, I was wondering what are the things that give you confidence that something is actually ready to ship?
Um, our team treats shipping on BNB chain as passing through multiple safety gates. First, we do completely testing and reviews. Every feature has extensive unit tests, and we run through stress tests on BNB testnets or mainnet forks because the gas is cheap and we can simulate real usage easily. So we complement that with third-party audits as well, and a book bounties, so issues get caught from many angles. In the contrast themselves, we include some guardians, for example, an emergency pause on key functions, and any upgrade or admin action must go through a time lock or multi-sig with a 24 hours delay. So we also rely on proven building blocks. So we use well-audited libraries like Open Zeppelins and oracles instead of writing new untested code. Important changes and parameter updates are announced in advance, so we can giving everyone time to review. And also monitoring gives us ongoing visibility. We record all the events like parameter changes and large transfers. We have dashboards that alert the team if metrics go out of bounds. Yeah.
Amazing. All right. So it's a mix of design and monitoring, right? And everything all together.
Yes,
Amazing.
from design to deployment and post deployment and then monitoring. Yeah.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now to a question from Hashtag. Are there any specific things to the BNB chain that you look for when you are threat modeling a protocol? Something that like doesn't really apply to other chains like Ethereum.
Hi everyone, Sebastian here from Hashdit. Yeah, thank you for the question. So with regards to some of the different specifics or more of big compared to such as the other EVM chains, right? Specific to BNB chain, it could be something related to some of its unique points, such as a more shorter block time, high throughput, also a more centralized validator set, this sort of things. So these are some of the things that I think projects would probably look at if they're doing some threat modeling on BNB chain. But that doesn't mean it apply to chains as well. Some rather related models, since it's also a EV. But if you're talking about these particular issues, then of course block times and numbers, such this sort of things will be, as you would require more second level precision. And at the same time, if you're using an Oracle, do take note of specific things such as more since the blocks are processed faster, more thresholds, more variations regarding that. And lastly, the BNB finality is also meaning then or any other pause within the project has to be, and also there has to be some flow for an automated circuit breaker is able to keep up with the fast throughput chain.
Okay, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, having like low fees and a high volume of transactions, like things happen much faster, which obviously is like really good for the users. But of course, it means that protocols like inherit like a different kind of security model. So we have more transactions, more surface area, faster exploit attempts. And there are certain assumptions around gas that need to be rechecking, especially if you're bringing the protocol from Ethereum, I guess, and like any other chains that aren't as fast. Historically, like we've seen patterns like MEV driven manipulations, Oracle edge cases, high frequency economic attacks. But the ecosystem, of course, is maturing more and more. We have better monitoring now, stronger reporting culture if a bug is found, and like more structured security partnerships. That of course it all raises the bar. So on to our next question from Lista. Looking at like the broader BNB chain environment, what positive changes or trends in security have you seen that like made building on BNB chain more comfortable for you?
Thank you for your questions. In recent years, the BNB chain environment has grown much more security aware, which makes life easy for builders. And the ecosystem now provides clear best practice guidelines and toolkits, and official programs like hackathons and bug bounties incentive teams to focus on safety. There are also better tools available, for instance, more sophisticated dashboard platforms and vulnerability scanners that can plug directly into the BNB networks. So these tools help us detect issues early by understanding BNB specifics patterns. So also in terms of culture, things have shifted to teams on BNB frequently share lessons and also, for example, for Lista DAO, we always have some lessons for security lessons to share internally. So we often learn from write-ups or community posts about what went wrong elsewhere, and we've applied those lessons immediately. So, and also, many security engineers who cut their teeth on Ethereum have moved it over to BNB projects. So I'm bringing tried and true patterns with them. So as a result, new projects often start from well-audited foundations, which gives us a head start.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. And like, of course, we're going through more high throughput chains, so all the protocols are getting more developed for that. So now a question for Hashtag. Can you share like one example where the ecosystem responded well to like a security challenge, and what processes or tools made that response more effective? Basically, also we want to also hear about what you have as one thing that you want to see happen in the overall BNB ecosystem in the future.
Yeah, I think this is a great question. I feel like since 2023, we've seen that the BNB chain ecosystem changed a lot, and also the whole collective effort for multiple security providers, and also more projects being security focused. So one perfect recent example that I can think of is actually the Venus case that happened back early September this year. There were multiple alerts. There was an abnormal of funds from the protocol. I believe it was a relatively large amount, or rather, it was a huge amount. And it initially looked like a potential protocol compromise, right? So within minutes, I think multiple security providers already reached the core team, and this was only because the direct lines of communication that were set up. This is, I would say, the one of the main key point of this whole case. So once that was done, war room was spun up, and also with other firms. And while the users were understandably nervous about the whole situation, I think the team and also security provider gave this time to pause the protocol first to prevent any other cascading impacts, and also to confirm the root cause of the whole incident. And then once it was identified to be a compromise, not the protocol, then the team actually decided on a solution to freeze the attacker control assets, and also ultimately a happy ending, right? Funds to be returned, allowing users to resume operations. So I think the whole showed how the BNB chain ecosystem came together, including the users. And then this was all done through coordinated decision making, and also making sure it's transparent with the community as a whole.
Yeah, that's a very good response. We've been seeing more and more teams like prioritizing the fact that like if they get hacked, of course, like there might be many issues still out there in the wild. Of course, there is. But if they get hacked, how they respond, and like we've seen the reactions becoming better and better, because like when you get an issue reported to your protocol, you have to respond within minutes, knowing exactly what you need to do. And that's like then having playbooks in place, and like having incident response in place. It comes, and it's like a big part. So yeah, that's a really good one. On to the next part. I want to talk about the fact that like most teams, a lot of the teams, because it's like an EVM equivalent chain, they bring Ethereum audited code to BNB, of course, which is fine. But while it is equivalent, there are certain assumptions that are different. Tooling, MEV patterns, infrastructure, all of them are different. Latency, propagation, gas dynamics, these are not obviously identical to Ethereum. So anything relying on the timing, economic thresholds, or like the block density needs more stress testing. And we see that like the security landscape is kind of changing, and new bugs are being found based on the fact that the chains are just getting faster, and just new bugs are being found. So teams should validate their designs, obviously, under BNB chain conditions, and just not assume everything is equivalent. Basically, all the trust assumptions. So here, my question from Lisa is: how did your team adapt the existing DeFi or EVM patterns to fit BNB Chain's specific environment, and but adjustment improved your security at most. What's more interesting to me is that was there anything that you didn't account for at the start, maybe figured out down the road?
Yes, that's interesting. We began by from Ethereum to BNB, so we began by reusing the old Ethereum DeFi patterns, but we quickly adjust them for BNB's environment. For example, BNB Chain's fast block times and the high throughput means that we have to optimize any heavy on-chain routes to avoid running out of gas on the road. A major improvement was in our Oracle and parameter design. We layered multiple price feeds and add sanity checks. So, for example, we were capping how much the price can change in a single update. This way, in one Oracle lags or spikes, the protocol will pause risky actions instead of blindly executing them. That change alone greatly increased our resilience to sudden price swings. And also one thing we didn't fully account for at first was how cheap gas would affect attackers. Early on, we saw that bots could spam transactions much more easily than on other chains. To counter that, we introduced random delays and per block limits on sensitive functions to make fund running and other MEV attacks much more harder. We also realized that the front end can be a weak point. After that, unexpected UI edge case showed up in user settings. We tightened all of our front-end validations and test coverage to ensure user errors can't slip through. So the key was mixing familiar DeFi code with BNB-specific safeguards. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And these pointers, of course, helped all the builders out there because these might not like exactly one-to-one map to their project, but like they can, of course, take lessons. That's how we're like building more and more secure code. And that's like really important to just learn from the past. If we just backtrack to like start of Ethereum, we didn't know much about MEV itself, and we figured it out down the line. And we don't know what we're gonna know like as a major attack path like 5 years from now. So we just have to stay on our toes and react to everything that comes out. Like we have to adjust our protocol if we're like in charge of one, and yeah, just keep an eye out for the bugs.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course. Now to a question for Hashdit. I really want to know if when you hear that like a project is coming from EVM to BNB, what are some design patterns or like best practices that you recommend teams to have to just make them more robust?
Yeah, I think most of the points have also been covered by Lawson, right? I believe that gas is definitely one of the key differences that you will sort of look out for when you're porting over to BNB Chain. So essentially, spams are going to be a huge thing for your protocol. You want to reduce that as much as possible. For example, if you have loops in your protocol, then a single bad loop can actually result in some unexpected results. Perhaps your other users might be affected, or a relayer might be grieved out, and they can't execute a certain automated process, for example. So this sort of things will probably require additional testings and fuzzing to make sure that you're ready for the BNB chain environment. And also he touched on the Oracle part, like what I shared earlier as well, to ensure that the oracles are balanced and also able to support and reflect the most updated price. Another thing that I sort of want to touch on is also regarding a front running. So
Mm-hmm.
in the BNB chain environment, because you can think of it something like Ethereum, but probably more just a very sped up version of it, and very efficient version of it. That's how I put it like that. Because of the fast blocks and cheap transactions, right? So this allows huge space for MEV actors to actually play around. In the past few months, we have already seen multiple cases where there are sandwich attacks, very popular on BNB
Mm-hmm.
chain, and also like price manipulation related, whereby a token can be compromised if the price is somehow reliant on the liquidity pool. All these are more heightened in the BNB chain environment. So just a word of advice for most projects here is that just got to make sure that the code and also the testing is well suited for a sped up environment like BNB chain. Yeah.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And I can count how many issues because like we find unlike protocols on Ethereum that are deploying that we mentioned that hey, this isn't really viable on Ethereum, but if you go on like a faster chain, this is gonna be possible. So watch out for that. We sometimes include that in the security reviews as well. When a protocol is strictly only deploying for Ethereum. So this was the case most of the case a couple years ago. Now everyone is deploying everywhere, but it's definitely a lot of the attacks at the design level even would become viable, and just we have to watch out for those. Yeah, thank you. Amazing response. So for the next part, I'm thinking that we could look at quick and cheap transactions as double-edged sword, right? The upside is that the teams can, of course, test cheaply, run simulations at scale, like, and instrument more aggressive monitoring, maybe without worrying about gas costs. High activity can become like a defensive tool if teams plug into the right dashboards and alerting systems, right? So here my question for Lista is, how do you take advantage of BNB Chain's low fees and high throughput in your testing, monitoring, risk management? And I want to know if it makes it easier or harder for you, or if it changes your monitoring at all.
Actually, we treat BNB Chain's low fees as a powerful advantage for testing because transaction cost is so little. We can deploy to test nets or even mainnet clones and generate high load to uncover edge case. For example, we've run thousands of transactions in quick succession on a testnet to see how our system holds up. And also, quick iteration is now routine. If we need to tweak something, we can push an update and run another full test almost immediately. We also use live mainnet data to validate assumptions. So this rapid feedback loop has helped us catch issues early in development. And at the same time, BNB's high throughput means that there are a lot of on-chain data, which is both a blessing or a challenge. We leverage it by implementing our contracts and setting up detailed dashboards. So every key action is logged, and we monitor things like price feeds, some reserve levels, and user activity in real time. Yeah.
Interesting. That's a great response. Yeah, we just have to consider that like when you go into a faster environment, your protocol needs to take advantage of that as well, because attackers would for sure try to take advantage of that. So if your team doesn't do that, it's going to be in a disadvantage. So make sure that you just use all the benefits you get on the faster chains. And onto a question from Hashdit. So what tools, dashboard, or services in the ecosystem do you encourage projects to use after like a security review, so they can leverage BNB's chain high activity for better security and visibility?
Yeah, okay. So to be honest, there's a whole list of actually a plethora of useful platforms I feel on BNB chain ecosystem. So I'll probably share like a generalized checklist that I think projects could have for security visibility. I think one could definitely using the explorers and also transaction visualization tools. So these include, of course, the BSC Scan Explorer, and then for visualization tools of transactions, you can use the Falcon Blockstack or Tenderly. So this gives like a deep dive of tracing when something weird pops up. And second, I would like to touch a bit on the analysis and also monitoring part of things. So as we know, BNB chain has a very high activity. So I think we could leverage this by gaining extra insights, and actually we can gain more data from having more transactions happening, because we will know the user's behavior more, and this can allow platforms to actually leverage this and be more security focused. And the next thing that we would like to encourage is for projects to add live risk scanning APIs into the protocol itself. So this allows users to get warned at an early stage when they are aware of this uh, malicious transaction, for example, right? And I think another one would be the crowdsourced threat feed, as whenever a user flags a scam address or a malicious website uh, that could affect a protocol on BNB chain, then any other project with this same system can get protected easily. So even though there are more spams going around, we can continue to protect the whole ecosystem as a whole. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Um, so next on, I want to touch on some risks around like the designs of the DeFi protocols. So overall, in DeFi, and liquidity staking, there are some core risks around contract logic, oracles, liquidity conditions, market behavior, and of course, as we said a couple of times here on BNB chain, they're different, and like on any high throughput and fast chain, these are going to appear different. Of course, projects that here like succeed combine like tighter parameter governance, maybe strong upgrade processes, and like close coordination with the ecosystem, especially security partners, to make sure that all of those risks are at least mitigated in the design level. So my question for Lista is that when you design your protocol on BNB chain, which specific decisions around oracles, parameters, and upgrade processes had the biggest impact on your security?
When we set up Lista on BNB chain, we make them several security-focused design choices. For oracles, we didn't trust just one price feed. We integrate at least two independent price sources and add sanity checks, like checking the deviation between two oracles, and also we need to make sure the update time. So to make sure the price is the latest one. And this redundancy and filtering has been really, really critical. It means our liquidations and collateral calculations always use reliable data, even if one feed fails. Yeah. And also, in terms of parameters, we launched with higher collateral requirements and more conservative limits, like borrowing rates than the minimum viable values. That gives us a buffer during early volatility. We also designed any parameter updates to be gradual. If the borrowing rate needs to change, it will adjust in small increments over time, allowing us to spot any unintended effects early. And finally, for the upgrade process, we want to put it in really strict controls. No single developer has the power to upgrade contracts or change key variables. We require a multi-signature, the nodes are safe, to vote and enforce a time lock delay for every change. In practice, that means every proposal is public and stakeholders have time to review it before it goes live. So this choice makes, especially around robust oracles and controlled upgrades. So they let us respond and adapt without ever risking a sudden unchecked change that could harm the protocol.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Now, my next question is for Hashdit. And I'm wondering, from your vantage point, I'm looking for those security practices that you give to DeFi protocols, liquidity staking protocols, on BNB chain, on any fast chain, basically, that they need to constantly follow, that like the bigger, more established, more battle-tested protocols follow. Basically, like the hints and guides and security practices you offer to like the smaller protocols, maybe the ones that just started out. You tell them, hey, you have to follow these to become like a battle-tested one. Are there any security practices that come to mind?
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, we have a full list on our platform, and I think it's on Avenger DAO as well. But I think definitely the first step or most foundational step we are looking at will be audits. So, but not just any audits. It has to be a multi-audit sort of system. At the first step, you will definitely do a internal audit, and then next you would look out to engage outsider firms, external firms. You definitely would like to do a layered audit. So, for example, if you have covered an audit with this particular firm, and then you notice that hey, there are still it still seems like there are many high risk vulnerabilities, for example, then you would definitely have the inkling like that the code itself might not be better tested yet, might not be strong enough yet, and hence there is a need to do a second one, and up to it feels like the code is ready to be launched. So that's one. And second one we would like to look at is more on when the project is launched. For example, we will definitely advise protocols to have good decentralized sort of control over the project. This can include time lock and multi-sig governance. But understandably, projects at the start or early launch, they would be more centralized, and that is okay. Definitely, it has to be at a stabilized point before a project transitions to be more decentralized. And so this main idea of doing this is to prevent insider exploits or any breach that happen internally, and using such multi-sig governance or using time lock can actually delay any potential compromises, so that the users are informed. Yeah. And another one I think I'll look at is definitely bug bounties. So this encourages white hats to ensure that your protocol stays secure and safe. This is especially vital, I feel, in the BNB chain ecosystem, because the transactions are happening fast. There are multiple projects on the platform as well. So having a good percentage of this bounty is good to transition them from a black hat to a white hat. and hopefully this incentivizes good actors to play a part in the BNB Chain ecosystem. Yeah, just a few to name off my head now.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Yeah, of course. One of the points you brought up is like having multiple security partners, maybe auditing firms that you go to, and it's very important because like sometimes projects just rely on themselves testing the protocol, but you have to know that like someone as they wrote the protocol, they're gonna look at the code as kind of their baby. So it's not gonna be like very intense testing sometimes, and you definitely need like extra sets of eyes on the code and like fresh opinions. And like one of the things that auditors do, we want like different auditors looking at the code base because each of them has like certain perspective. It might be like a certain kind class of bug that one auditor finds and like the other one doesn't. So we definitely need many more eyes than like the developing team on their own. And this is of course the fact that like security overall cannot be like one audit, a single audit as well. It has to be different groups and firms looking at your code. And of course the teams that do best usually combine like formal reviews, competitions, peer reviews, bounties, runtime monitoring, and incident drills. And collaboration, for example, like across Cantina, Hashdit, BNB Chain, and project teams, is like what makes the defenses layered, not siloed. And so my next question is for Lista. Can you walk us through how your security process looks over the lifetime of a feature on BNB Chain or like any chain, from idea to launch to post-launch monitoring?
Yeah, sure. Every feature lister goes through a multi-step security pipeline. We start from the beginning in the ideation phase. We do threat modeling together. We will ask ourselves, what could an attacker or unexpected event break here? And we will plan countermeasures from the start. For example, we decide where to put a pause function or how to limit certain actions. During the development, we follow secure coding standards and write comprehensive tests. Every critical function has one scenario tests on a BNB on the BNB testnet, such as simulating a large market swings or delayed Oracle fees, something like that, and also the peer review. So the peer review, and we will run automatic analysis to catch bugs early. And then after the development, then it will comes to the production deployment. We will do the final checks for that. All tests must be passed, and we will get 2 to 3 external audit reports like Cantina, BlockX, etc., or a second reviews on any sensitive parts. We often do a staged rollout. The grayscale. For example, we might deploy to mainnet, but only open the feature to a small pool of users with a low limit at first. We also announce a bug bounty for this release to encourage security researchers to poke at it. And then finally, once the feature is fully goes live, monitoring work kicks in. We have dashboards tracking important metrics like the total liquidity, price feed values, or debt ratios, and also the alerts on any deviation from expected behavior, like a sudden large price move. So our team is always ready to use the emergency pause immediately if needed. After the launch, the post deployment, each week we review logs and on-chain statistics and discuss any anomalies. So we will keep the bug bounty program active in case something slips through. if a new creek is identified, we'll go through our governance upgrade process to fix it. So that security for us is continuous, from threat modeling at the start through careful deployment to constant post-launch, also to ensure we maintain operational clarity and maturity at every stage.
That is, of course, really amazing to hear. So yeah, to any projects like looking for an audit out there, I think the best thing you could do for your own is like follow these exact steps. Because like usually what we tell the projects when they come for an audit is that you should have done your best on the protocol and on the design of the protocol before reaching out for an audit, because that's what gets you the most value. And we know that like audits can be expensive sometimes, and they're required to go before the launch on the on mainnet and BNB chain. So we definitely want you to have like a fully tested protocol, so the auditors could only, and security reviewers could only look at the very tight edge cases that they just want to spend their time learning the protocol and then just breaking it. So that's what those steps are, what bring you the best value for the audit. So my next question for Hashdit is something around the same line. So what does like a strong ongoing security program look like for a project from for your perspective, and how you can like plug into the ecosystem resources to achieve that?
Yep. So unironically, Lista has achieved most of what are the guidelines that we would feel are eligible for ongoing strong security program, right? But I would like to touch on maybe two more points so that I wouldn't sound like I'm repeating the same thing. I think one that is critical to projects that are security focused is to have an internal security SOP document. This one has to be managed by your internal security team. So there has to be a dedicated team and not your developer, not your, I don't know, CTO. Of course, they have to be a part of it, but ultimately there has to be a security team that has to be managing this. The SOP will definitely include things like what should you do if you encounter a security incident? What are the next steps on who to reach out to, what criteria allows you to pause the protocol, for example, whether you need to do any whether that compensation eligibility is there, and other things such as uh, I mean that's one. So second one that I can think of is definitely learning. This one is up to every single individual in the project, I believe. Not just the security team. Everyone has to be aware of the security landscape on BNB chain. So this can include reading up on incident reports that other security partners release, any quarterly or end of year reports that are released, postmortems that are shared through any large incidents that happen on BNB chain, for example, and of course, team training that is super important. Whether there are emerging threats, for example, AI phishing, or a new malware that has been targeting project teams. So all of this adds up to all the things that has been mentioned by Lista just now. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. I think if any team like listens to what you guys are suggesting, they're gonna be golden. I think these are like really important things that like each and every one of them should be taken very seriously. And for next, I'm thinking that we can look at early teams that often wanna move fast with like small budgets. Of course, we wanna look at like the post-launch a bit and what that looks like. The key, of course, is prioritizing the right security steps because of the limited budgets. They should have minimal. They should have like some governance controls, clear access patterns, early monitoring, Oracle discipline, and a simple or like a more complicated incident plan and a playbook. Security maturity is, of course, like an endpoint, a journey on its own, but you can set like some checkpoints along the way. So my question for Lista is, if a new team asked you how to prioritize security while launching on BNB Chain with a lean budget, what 3 practical steps would you recommend first?
Yeah, on a lean budget. Okay. The first thing I would do is start with a clear threat model. So just think about what could go wrong, which parts of the protocol are most at risk. So that will let you to spend limited time and money on the defenses that matter most. For example, if you discover that price manipulation is your top threat, you may prioritize adding price deviation limits or a quick pause on your known contract, something like that. Even a simple analysis like this guide where to focus your efforts first. And the second step will be I would recommend to use existing audit solutions wherever possible. So we always saying that don't reinvent the wheel. Begin by leveraging standard community-fed contracts and libraries on BNB Chain. For example, OpenSublime or some well-known token contracts or stable coin templates. Use the trusted Oracle services like Chainlink rather than building your own price feed. This approach will reduce the chance of unknown bugs and shrinks the amount of new code you have to secure. Saving, it definitely saving both time and audit costs. And the final step will be to add basic safety features from day one. You can do a lot with the configuration rather than coding. Require a multi-sig wallet and time lock contract for any critical updates. Include a circuit breaker like the pause function on contracts, and choose very, very conservative risk parameters at launch. For example, a higher collateral requirements or a lower LTV. So these measures will not cost extra money, but they can stop many attacks or mistakes in advance. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Of course, yeah. Like having those libraries in place, using those libraries in place, would not cause you to have to like do an upgrade after deployment, because like any change that you make to the code after the deployment, it's gonna just cost you more straight up. It's gonna have to be audited in like a tighter time frame. So if you just have those practices in place after the deployment, you don't need to really worry about them as much. Those are great points. And question for Hashdit here. When a new project approaches you, are there any concrete actions or checks that you should suggest so they can quickly reach a responsible level of security before scaling their TBL? Do you have like a small checklist for audit readiness?
Well, so once again, we are going to dive back into security playbook as the main action that I would, or rather the guideline that I will give for projects before scaling TVL. So this playbook can include having for the code itself, for managing wallets, managing incidents, and then basically a multi-faceted playbook that covers all areas, right? So for the code itself, definitely you will want it to be audited. You will definitely want it to be follow the standard security guidelines. For example, the versioning or the has been run through static analysis, has been run through fuzzing, has been run through testing, that sort of things. For the wallet itself, it has to be, for example, uh, using a multi-sig wallet, and then, for example, there has to be a cold wallet part of it, and it has to be secured in a siloed environment, for example. So all of this are part of the playbook that I would suggest the team is super aware of before they scale their TBL. And with regards to your second question about the audit readiness, essentially, the project itself, they have to uh, have this streamlined checklist. Um, I would suggest is that for the audit itself, um, uh, the projects are aware of what are the flows that are part of the protocol itself. So this can help the auditors be more aware during the initial phase where they read through and understand the whole protocol flow. Um, this can be supported by using a architecture diagram, how contracts will interact with one another, um, and yeah, this will be super useful and will help to save a lot of time through the back and forth with your auditor, and of course supporting it with the usual stuff such as testings, um, the libraries that you will be dependent on, that sort of thing. So if you are more code coming from a code perspective, then these are the stuff that you want to make sure that it's ready.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So for this final section, as we wrap up, we want every BNB builder to walk away with one strong principle. As we said a couple times now, low fee, high throughput chains amplify both strength and weaknesses, right? If you can use the environment to your advantage, if you can ground your design, monitoring, and governance in the realities of the chain, you can use it like all to your advantage. Let's end in final takeaways. So my final question for Lista is, what is one security habit you want every BNB chain builder to adopt after this space?
Yeah, if there's one habit, I hope every builder takes away is to treat security as a continuous routine, but not a one-time checklist. In practice, that means making it part of your daily or weekly workflow to review your protocol's health. For instance, regularly check your monitoring dashboards and logs and respond quickly to any alerts. And keep testing assumptions by simulating edge cases on the testnet or reviewing any recent changes in a like audit, like internal audit or peer code review. And this kind of ongoing attention, like looking at key metrics every day or maintaining a deployment checklist that you actually use. This will help catch small issues before they become major incidents. By making monitoring and review a habit, you ensure your security posture stays strong, even as your protocol evolves. Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Appreciate it. Thank you. And my final question for Hashdit is, what is the single most underused resource or program in the BNB chain ecosystem that you think security conscious builders should start using today?
Yeah. To be very frank, it will be very hard for me to choose a single one. So probably a few off the top of my head, right? Of course, Cantina is definitely a good resource. They cover a top to bottom sort of package where there's audits, there's after launch mitigations, similar like us. And also, if you would like to look at BNB Chain, they have the programs as well, such as MVB, and also they have some security related ones like Avenger Down and also DFA. These are some of the resources that you guys can, I will advise security conscious builders to look at. Yeah, so the whole package, actually what I want to drive at is I think that protocols should not be afraid to check and ask. So what I mean is, it definitely you could look at resources, you can look at articles online, but it will not be reaching out to the team itself. So for example, reaching out to Cantina team themselves or reaching out to us directly. We would be more uh, nuanced in understanding what are your needs, and then it will be more tailored towards your security requirements. So I feel that that should be the number one thing that will better suit your project. Yeah.
Amazing. I appreciate the time you guys took today to just mention all these great points, and I'm pretty sure all the builders appreciate it as well. And I want to thank everyone. Really, really appreciate you guys for tuning in, for listening to us. And again, I want to thank Lawson from Lista and Sebastian